Hi and welcome. Let me share my screen. That did not go very well yesterday. Okay. Perfect. So welcome to the online webinar and okay. So okay. So that's the only chat that I have for you as of now. So let's see. This is one of my favorite topics. Goes without saying. I have been very consciously trying to get this done over a period of time, and with different results. So there's a couple of couple of times that I have done this live in a workshop environment with very different results. I've done it for folks who have been part of IT organization for quite a while, and I have done it for folks who have been part of a very operational kind of a setup. I have also done it for people who have who are absolute core developers, the absolute product developers, folks of that sort. And to my surprise, I got the best reaction from these people, folks who are actual product developers, or folks who were working in organizations who were developing software products. So I got excellent reaction from them. I don't necessarily say that they were the ones who probably gained the most out of it. Probably not. They were probably at a certain level already of understanding, maybe. So that is one thing. The other thing is, it's done best interactive. So in case we get an opportunity to do that, I'll be able to display that to you. Great. Now coming to the PPT. So what exactly is creativity, and how is it linked to innovation? Firstly, is there a link? Now most people would presume that there is a link, but there is no certainty around this. There is absolutely no certainty around this. Rather, there's a lot of information which has been published, latest research, which says that creativity need not necessarily be linked to innovation at all. Which means, and I had kind of done this experiment a couple of months back. I posted on one of the LinkedIn forums saying that I'm an extremely creative person, and I would love to be innovative, and I would love to understand how can I be more innovative and things to that effect. I got a lot of responses from people saying that, oh Rohit, don't bother, have a jolly good time, and you're extremely creative and you'll be very innovative. That's all bullshit. So let's face facts. This is basically that Dilbert with the red mouth is me asking these silly questions to a facilitator. So imagine that, and let's say my basic questions are: why do we need to learn about creativity? What exactly is innovation? Is it tangible? Can I touch it? Can I feel it? Can I measure innovation? Can I say for sure that this particular product is innovative and the other product or the other service is not innovative? Well, we'll see how some of these questions get answered. But upfront, let me tell you, creativity and innovation, to the extent that I am aware, don't necessarily have a very tangible linkage. That is one. The second thought being, then why are we looking at creativity? Why are we even talking about creativity? Because it has been, again, there's a lot of research around this, and I myself have seen this, and this is my own experience that I'm talking about. I have seen people who ended up being creative, also ended up being innovative. Now that could just be happenstance. That could just be something which is just happening, and not necessarily a very strong correlation over there. Or the correlation could be that they moved into a team, or they moved into a work group wherein the rest of them had their heads kind of okay, let's say screwed the right way, or maybe left-minded and not that right-minded, or right brain usage and things to that effect. But these people added that little flavor which was required probably, and then definitely innovative things happened. So that is one. Okay. The learning agenda. No, I will not necessarily stick to this, because this is for the entire session of an entire day. So I'll either go extremely fast if I have to stick to this. So there's lateral thinking that we'll kind of look at, and lateral thinking is not only demo, the other things also which are there. We'll try and do a simulation of SWOT, and of course this is the perfect. So let's say we were all together, and this is all of us gathered around, say, a coffee mug, and what we want to do is we want to brainstorm some ideas, so that there is a mandate in the organization that you guys go ahead and be innovative. So all of us have got together in a room or somewhere, say maybe it could be an outbound location also, wherein we say that yes, okay, let's put our heads together and we will go ahead and be innovative. Now, how does this necessarily work? So, what is it that we want to be innovative about? That is the first question that would come to everybody's mind, right? So, what we do in the workshop is, we, at this point in time, we break out into, say, groups or 5 to 6, and then we sit down and we take some, we take a lot of material for, say, drawing. We take a lot of fancy sketch pens and whatever we can get our hands on. The more the better, the more the merrier in this situation. And what we try and do, I'll try and simulate that for you right now. Let's say I were to pick up, okay, let me just pick up one of these pics over here. And this is what I have, and I have one scratch pad with me on which I'll try and simulate what I'm talking about. Okay. Now, the first thing that we want to consider is, what is it that we want to brainstorm? What is it that we want to innovate? The first suggestion that I can give you, and which will be extremely practical, is look at your pain areas. Now, you might say, no, Rohit, we are all people from different departments, from different organizations. How are we supposed to find out as to what our pain area is? Put your heads together for a few minutes, just discuss, and let me again give you an example from what we've done earlier. I got this group of very heterogeneous leaders. There were some folks from finance, there were some folks from HR, there were some folks from operations, and all of them, because they were part of this chosen few in the organization for, say, succession, what they wanted to look at was, they said, we'll go ahead and create some kind of framework for, say, succession planning within the organization. What all should be there? So they wanted to create a framework for succession planning. So that is one thing that they kind of thought of. Then some of them said, yes, that is one excellent thing that we can probably do. Another thing that we can probably do is, we can create a framework for some kind of innovation hub. And when they are talking about an innovation hub, sorry, my handwriting with this is a little bad. So when they are talking about an innovation hub, what they are looking at is something like the environment, the incubators of innovation that Google provides, wherein you can kind of sit back, relax, think about what you want to do, plan your things forward and things to that effect. And there's a lot of organizations, not only Google, there's McKinsey, there's Boston Consulting, there's whole lot of these organizations. There's IDEO. Okay, IDEO is in a different league, and I'm trying to get at something over here. So most of these organizations, if you go to their websites, if you go to any of these portals that they have, they show a lot of these things happening in the public. Now, inspired by that, some of these leaders said, let's go ahead and create one of those. Then somebody came up with a very simple example wherein they wanted to make the cafeteria, the entire experience of being at the cafeteria, much better. So how can they increase the value add that is happening to people once they go to the office cafeteria? And because obviously I do not have the copyright to some of those mind maps which were created then. Those were excellent mind maps, but I don't have the copyright, so I cannot share them with you. I'll show you something which is a little similar, and I would request you to, if possible, create that yourself. So there is some dummy project that we have chosen, and we'll go ahead and allocate tasks, subtasks. But how will we do that? When will we allocate the tasks? When will we allocate the subtasks? We'll do that after we have a certain plan in place. So a skeleton plan in place before we go ahead and we say, okay, fine, we want to do some of these things. Okay, that being one. The next thing that we need to do is get the information that to what extent do we have buy-in for such an innovation within the organization. Now, whoever is present there with you, they are the people who represent the organization. They are the best sample for the organization that you can probably gather. And because it's an informal environment, which I'm sincerely hoping it would be for a workshop, if you were to do that, and within that environment, you would understand that what is it that they are really wanting to hint at. But how do you create that environment? How do you bring them to that position of excitement when they are ready to kind of interface with you in that manner? So let's look at our next slide, and that is one small activity that you can end up doing. It's very basic. You'll Google absolutely anywhere, you'll find this. So how to connect the dots without raising the pen. I myself, I sincerely couldn't do this. I had to Google the answer. So if somebody can do this, okay. So here are some of those samples of mind maps that I was talking about. Not necessarily ones which were made in actual workshop to that. Let's get back. We have made over here, and let's see how that works. It's about kind of application or some kind of framework or something that addresses our major pain area within the organization. So let's say we go ahead and create a learning management system, because that would probably be used by everybody in the organization, something which is akin to organization level learning. So let's say we go ahead and create a learning management system, and a very basic mind map of that might look like this. So what is it that we want? We want a LMS. Let's say the LMS becomes our central idea. Now from around this LMS, let's branch out, and let's say firstly, who all will use this, what all will they use it for, when and where can they use this, and what should be the cost of usage. So if it's internal for your organization, then of course there might not be much cost and everything involved. And this has stopped up the cost. Okay, so yeah, what could be the cost of usage? Now these are the few things that we might want to look at. Now let's look at some of these things and how we would kind of get this done. So who all will use? I say, now this could be my suggestion. Everybody in the organization ends up using this. My pen seems to be a little wonky. Okay. Yeah. So everybody in the organization would end up using it. So let's say you have somebody at level 1 within the department, say information technology, and then you have somebody at say level 3 within the department, say service delivery. Then you have somebody at say level 4 or say the highest level in your organization, say be L10, being in the department which is just strategy planning, right? So all of these folks, the entire organization should be able to use this. Okay, then what will they use it for? Now, this can be quite critical. So, because the what is, I think, the most important over here. So, let's say they use it for self-development. They use it for self-paced learning. They use it for official projects within the organization. Now, you might say that projects happen all the time. So, anything which can have a defined timeline, let's say a start time and a stop time and certain other activities which are dependent on, inputs and outputs, could be called a project. So, you need not necessarily, and I remember very clearly, one of my colleagues one day said that why do we try and define everything as a project? Because once you define everything as a project, and you do not look at things in a BAU manner, which is a business as usual, the acronym that we usually use, then you are able to track things. Then you are able to track progress in short term. And tracking progress for anything, whether it's innovation, whether it's creativity or whatever it might be, tracking progress, tracking the ROI is extremely critical. If you don't do that, then, it's just like, you're hitting in the dark. Whether you're getting results, whether you are even moving in the right direction, forget about results. That could be a gray area, and you don't want gray areas, especially in things of this sort, which could be a new interventions in your organization, or new ways of thinking, or maybe even it could be it could even be some kind of change that you're introducing. You just cannot take chances. So you have to be extremely sure that you have data to support. You should be able to present to someone saying that this is what we shall share with you as our ROI over this much period. And having said this, most folks in L&D especially, I will not talk about technical trainings and all, or skill-based trainings, but things which are much more behavioral, things which are much more, like we like to call them, untangible, like to run away from this question. How will you create a ROI, or how will you prove that this is actually happening? There is some point of doing this. So that is very, very important. Okay. So once you've done all of this, once you've defined the what, you might want to define the when. So when all will people use this? So you have a certain instance of the LMS running in your organization. When all will folks use it? Let's say you have new hires. The new hires will go ahead and go through this LMS. They will utilize it for their new hire training. Let's say you have folks who need to get promoted from one particular level to the other. So they will use it for their developmental needs. And then again, let's say there are folks who are involved in everyday delivery. So they will use it for their training needs. So probably 24/7, 365 days a year, this learning management system of yours can be utilized. It can be put to good use. Okay, now where all would you want them to use it? The best is make them sit in front of a system, tell them to log in over there, and then see something similar to what is happening right now. Yeah. So that is the best way to utilize a LMS. Absolutely wrong, right? So that's the old way of thinking. So that is not necessarily how people would like to learn in today's date. The best way to utilize your LMS is on a mobile device. Whether it's your mobile phone or it's any kind of a device which is internet enabled, that is where you want to use your LMS. Because we don't necessarily know how people in your organization like learning. Having said this, what exactly is there about learning which is so special that we would want to understand how people in your organization like learning? That would take us a lot of time to get into, but it will suffice to say over here that each and every person in your organization, and I can vouch for it, I have done a lot of research on these things. Each and every person, each and every individual in your organization has a different learning environment preference. Having said that, even if your organization is a huge organization of say 20,000, 30,000 people, there are still differences, and none of them, mark my word, none of them will go through say a webinar or say a workshop, a live workshop, or any kind of interaction, any kind of learning interaction having the same kind of emotional reactions to it. It will not happen because they're all individuals. So the last part of my this little mind map, wherein I wanted to show you the cost piece, which I couldn't. I'll come back to that now. So the cost, how will you want to structure the cost around such an innovation? Again, very important, because without understanding the dollar impact of anything, if you're suggesting anything within your organization, it will immediately get shot down. You don't want that to happen. So the cost will obviously depend on how many users are there, and it will again take you back to the question, which is who, right? So who all will use, for what all will they use it? So do you really want the system to be 24/7, 365 kind of a system, or are you okay with a login which is a seasonal login? Say you just want your new hires to go through this. Rest of your organization, you say we'll manage whichever way we want to manage. We just want our new hires to go through this particular learning management system. For the rest of them, we will ensure that there are workshops happening and other things happening. Then again, of course, where there is no additional cost involved, that is the wonderful let's say that's the gift that we have from gods like Google, if I can say that and get away with it. Okay, so you don't necessarily have to bother about such things, how many users you are adding up, and these last two pieces of the equation don't necessarily add too much cost over here. But what is important is who all will learn, what will they utilize it for, and of course when all, what will be the frequency of the utilization. Having done this, you have a basic LMS mind map created. Now this is extremely basic, so let me take you to something which is a little bit more complex, so that you can kind of get a hang of it. Okay. Now what we want to do is, we want to look at some of the best practices in innovation before I get into certain more activities and other things. So the best practices, and these are especially from the Harvard University Press, and one of the professors who's I think I've become a fan of him over a period of time. I've watched most of his videos, read most of whatever he's published in the in the public domain. So he says, find out what all is changing in the environment. This does not necessarily come naturally to us. So if you're a marketing person, or if you're a person who's been involved earlier in some kind of market analysis for your organization, or some kind of even some trends analysis of products or something which are available in the market, you might think of this, but most of us, the rest of us, we don't think of this. Why should we think about the environment? Because that is where your competition lies. So how do you find that out? The most basic way of doing that is doing a SWOT analysis. Now that's the most basic way to do that. Then prepare to adapt to this change. Deliberate on how will we adapt. Now what exactly is the change? The change is what the environment is forcing upon us. Now there's a competitor who's come out with some product or some service which is doing much better in the market than yours. So why is that happening? Have they gone ahead and kind of poached your employees? Have they done something? No, they've not done anything of that sort. They've just thought of an idea which works much better, much cheaper, is much more disruptive. And I'll come to that term disruptive later and try and understand as to why, even though it sounds negative, but it's such a wonderful term, disruptive. The next one being, the environmental changes cannot be managed only by changing technology, and that's the best part of that a video that I saw on YouTube. He says most people just want to go ahead and manage change through technology. There's a lot of organizations that do that. Technology change management, let's implement this, let's put in a ERP, let's put in a LMS, let's do this, let's do that. But only those things will not work. The mindset of the organization initially to begin with, and going ahead, the entire culture of the organization has to change. And having said this, this is probably the biggest challenge that most organizations have. And the larger the organization or the larger the group that you're trying to change over a period of time, whatever that period of time might be, the more difficult it is. So even change management in today's date is more disruptive. So you start off with a core group, you start off with a small group within the organization, folks who are extremely critical to you. And once you see that change happening within that particular group, treat that as your test group and say, okay, fine, the best practices that we learn from here, now we will go ahead and implement in other groups also. But what usually happens is people want to straight away go and impact the largest possible population with anything new that comes up, whether it's a learning management system or a learning framework or even simple workshops. I get calls from folks who tell me, come and do this for our senior leadership. I said, have they done anything of this sort earlier? No, they've not. They've never experienced anything of this sort. I said, do you want me to come back to your organization again and do some, maybe, something in the future? And they said, yeah, why not? My thought was, if this one fails for the senior most leadership, why would they call me back? So even an individual has to think that way, that you have to start off with small pilot innovation ideas or projects and then get into something bigger. You cannot be jumping into the ocean straight away and say, fine, okay, I'll learn how to swim if you've never been to a swimming pool. So that doesn't work. Okay, so what exactly is SWOT? Most of us are aware of this, a SWOT analysis, the strengths, weakness, opportunity and threats analysis. And there are other ways of doing this. Somebody calls it the TOWS analysis. And then, of course, part of the strategic planning and execution workshop, I also get into a lot of detail of that as to how to link these strategies, how to leverage your strengths to maybe overcome the threats, the ST strategies, how to leverage the opportunities to absolutely do away with your weaknesses, the OW kind of strategies. But all that is beyond the scope of this one, and I really need to speed up now. So, okay. So, define the positive change, the innovative idea. You've done that. Preempt your limitations or weaknesses. That is very important, to be realistic and not to kind of bite more than you can chew. Predict all lateral alternatives to the plan. Think of all those things. So, do I need to know where I'm headed, or can I just explore and have fun? Yes, of course, you're supposed to explore and have fun. That is right. And that's why, most of these things in technology terms are called a sandbox. So when you experiment with some code, or when you experiment with some application or some new idea, so you sandbox it basically. So everybody expects you to have fun, but you're supposed to have a direction. Without a journal direction, like in the army we used to say, have a journal line of direction before you kind of march out. If you don't even have that, then you are lost even before you start off, right? So okay, so now a lot of ideas have come up, and we've kind of gone ahead and planned and seen as to how we would innovate on whatever idea it is that we kind of started off with.